champion, $20,400 for Burt Thakur. Any family members back home cheering you on?
You know, here's a true story, man. I learned English because of you. And so my grandfather, who raised me, I'm going to get tears right now. I used to sit on his lap and watch you every day. So it's a pretty special moment for me, man. Thank you very much.
Well, there were thousands of contestants on Jeopardy over the years, and every time Alex Trebek, he did take a moment to speak to the people who were there, who were competing, and also with the eventual winner. And over the course of his 36 years as host, he touched many lives, including that of our next guest. You saw a bit of him right there. That broadcast on Jeopardy on Friday evening, and we're now joined by the man that you saw there, Burt Thakur, who had just won $20,400 during his first Jeopardy game. But the victory, as you just heard, was about much more than the money. Burt Thakur joins us right now in Portland, Oregon. Burt, thank you for joining us right now. You know, we have to say you were a fan of the show, you were a contestant of the show, you're a winner of the show. But even before that, you had a special relationship with Jeopardy, and you just shared that with Alex Trebek. Tell us a bit more about that, how Jeopardy helped shape your life.
Well, first of all, thank you for bringing me on and giving me an opportunity to speak about, you know, not just once in a lifetime experience. I mean, the last 24 hours were surreal, and then what happened this morning was, to me, devastating. Because, I mean, look, I've had thousands upon thousands of people reach out to me. Everyone from Ajit Pai, who's the director of the FCC here in the U.S., all the way down to just ordinary people who describe a situation that was just like mine. Hey, we would sit around the family table and watch TV, and we'd watch Alex Trebek and we'd watch Jeopardy, and we'd try to guess those answers. And I realized something, that it wasn't just about learning English or helping understand the culture, but in a sense, with all those trivia questions, you suddenly learned about not just the history, but the rich diversity of the culture in the world that we're living in, about Western civilization itself. So for a lot of us, it was an introductory path into a curiosity about the place that we live in. So I think his impact and Jeopardy's impact on its surface is just a simple game show. But when you go beneath that and you look at the substance of it, I think its substantive effect is one which helped to form an actual culture and a zeitgeist for basically the last 4 decades, immigrants that have been coming into the United States and to Canada and to the Western world as a whole. I'm shaking right now. It's profound to me, and I, to the Trebek family, know that at least for one person, at least for me, he had such an impact on me that my life would not have been the same without him.
An impact on you, but also an impact on your grandfather's life, I'm sure, because as you said, as you shared with Alex Trebek, you watched the show every night on your grandfather's knee. It must be difficult in this moment, thinking not only about Alex Trebek, but also thinking about your grandfather. Yeah.
You know, up until I did that show, I forgot what my grandfather's face looked like. Because of obvious visa issues and everything, my grandfather was the one who raised me in India. You know, I grew up. He was the head of the forestry department. So, you know, my childhood was on elephants and all that stuff, like I said on the show. But when we came here, I mean, he was a very honest man, and he was a very good man, and he used to tell me to watch Alex Trebek because he's like, that's the definition of a good man. You know, I remember flying on that Pan Am jet. And I asked him, you know, how do you trust an American? And I apologize to you Canadians, but, you know, to me, you guys were one and the same back then, and you still are. And he said that an American, you can recognize them with a handshake. And he would say that about Alex Trebek. He said, one day you're going to get on, and I would like you to shake his hand on my behalf, because that's a good man. And I remember listening to an interview with Alex Trebek, you know, yesterday, day before. I was just, you know, it just was so stunned by this. And there was something Alex said in an interview when they asked him, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered? And he said the most poignant, simple answer one could give. He said, I just want to be remembered as a good man. So even approaching with that question, you know, like Voltaire says, we're aware of everyone else's mortality except our own. This gentleman was very keenly and acutely aware of it. and the fact that his mission wasn't notoriety, but it was to be remembered as a good man, as a guidepost for other people to follow, that's profound. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're moving me to tears as you share that story, because he was so well loved in this country, and of course a fixture for decades on TV, in part because of Jeopardy, but he, of course, his earlier career here in Canada with the CBC as well. You shared that story with Alex Trebek, the story of you watching his show as you learned English and, as you say, Western culture on your grandfather's knee. What was his reaction when you shared that story with him and spoke to him off camera?
So this is where I don't understand. I don't think most people understand how funny, how quick-witted he was. So without skipping a beat, he said, well, I too sat on my grandfather's lap, but unlike you, where you learn diction, I learned swear words. And it was the most Canadian thing I've ever heard. I said, oh, man. I mean, he's the true definition. Not only was he a consummate gentleman, but he was a mensch. At one point, he looked over during one of the breaks. He just turned to me and he said, young man, that is a fantastic beard. When I was younger, I too had a beard that was long and shiny and black and as magnificent as yours. But NBC made me shave it. Never shave that magnificent. I can't even tell him with a straight face. I mean, the guy was just, what he had? He just had grandfather energy.
Yeah.
He was somebody that just gave you a feeling that, look, we're going to have fun. Everything's going to be all right. And I'm not going to change from this episode to the next episode. And then, you could see that he was fighting an illness throughout that time. So this was at the height of COVID. And we, as a contestants, became acutely mindful of that. For me, I took it very seriously, as did the other people, as did the production team. And, he stumbled here and there, and there were times that he was in pain, and you could see it. And the producers even asked, are you in pain? Are you okay? And he was the professional who was a gentleman, that Invictus, I neither winced nor cried aloud, That's what he was. And in a sense, it wasn't really stoicism. It was more so that attitude that I'm here for a duty and purpose, and I am bigger than just myself, that my energy is something that radiates outward. And I guess when you're in a position like him, and this goes for all people who, I can't really think of people who are necessarily in his strata, but for people like him, to have that kind of attitude and not maintain an effete air, to be so down to earth, salt of the earth kind of attitude, like, and carry a cloak of humility about his presence, is something that I will incorporate into my life and take on. There are lessons you can take from everyone, but the way he showed kindness and empathy and tact and poise, perhaps it's people of a bygone era in a sense, but he was a gentleman.
Burt Thakur, thank you for sharing your love and your memories of Alex Trebek with us today.
Thank you. I actually feel a lot better just talking about it. You guys you don't understand. I haven't been able to get these thoughts out of my head. And so thank you for giving me a platform, and thank you for spreading his light, and to the people in Canada, from my heart to yours, he touched me, he touched my soul to make it a better one. And that's a product of your country. So thank you, everyone who's listening.
And that is Burt Thakur in Portland, Oregon.